The war raging between Iran, the United States, and Israel has rapidly turned the Middle East into the center of one of the most dangerous geopolitical crises in recent years. What began as escalating military strikes and retaliatory attacks is now threatening the arteries of global trade and energy supply. Two narrow waterways, the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, have suddenly become critical flashpoints. These maritime corridors carry a significant share of the world's oil and shipping traffic, and any disruption could have enormous consequences for the global economy. As tensions intensify, the Iran-aligned Houthi movement in Yemen is signaling that it could open a second front in the maritime struggle. The Houthis, who control the Yemeni capital Sana'a and large parts of the country, have issued warnings that they could shut down one of the world's most important shipping routes if the regional war escalates further. A senior Houthi military official warned that the group could take action against shipping in solidarity with Iran if the United States or Israel increases military involvement in the conflict. Once a decision to intervene is made, the first measure could be the official declaration of a naval blockade against the United States and the Zionist regime, Abed al-Thar said. The warning suggests that the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, already vulnerable due to Yemen's long-running conflict, could become another front line in the wider regional confrontation. The same official indicated that commercial vessels and even military ships could be targeted if the group moves forward with such a decision. Merchant vessels and warships, including aircraft carriers destined for the U.S. soil and the occupied territories, could therefore be stopped, Abed al-Thar said. The statement has raised concerns among shipping companies, energy markets, and governments around the world, as any disruption in this narrow corridor could have far-reaching consequences. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait is one of the most critical maritime choke points on the planet. At its narrowest point, the waterway measures only about 29 kilometers wide, separating Yemen from the Horn of Africa. Despite its relatively small size, the strait plays a huge role in global trade. It connects the Red Sea with the Gulf of Aden and ultimately the Indian Ocean, serving as a gateway for vessels traveling toward the Suez Canal. A significant portion of global shipping passes through this corridor every year. Nearly 12% of global trade and around 10% of the world's seaborne oil shipments move through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Ships traveling between Asia and Europe rely heavily on this route because it offers the shortest connection between the two regions. If the strait becomes unsafe, vessels will be forced to bypass the Suez Canal and instead travel around the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa. That detour could add 10 to 15 days to major shipping routes. The extra time would increase transportation costs, delay deliveries, and put additional strain on global supply chains that are already under pressure. The danger becomes even more serious when developments in the Persian Gulf are taken into account. The Strait of Hormuz, another narrow waterway, is widely regarded as the most important oil shipping lane in the world. Located between Iran and Oman, it carries roughly a fifth of the world's seaborne oil supply. Recent developments suggest that the strait has become a focal point of the ongoing confrontation between Iran and the United States. Attacks on tankers and rising tensions have turned the waterway into a potential battlefield. Energy markets have reacted quickly, with oil prices climbing sharply as traders worry about possible disruptions to supply. If both the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait were disrupted at the same time, the impact on global trade could be severe. Together, these waterways handle roughly 30% of the world's seaborne oil shipments and a major portion of trade between Asia and Europe. Any prolonged shutdown could lead to rising fuel prices, higher shipping insurance costs, and significant delays in the movement of goods. The Houthi movement has already demonstrated its willingness to target shipping in the region. Since seizing control of Yemen's Red Sea coastline after capturing Sana'a in 2014, the group has repeatedly attacked vessels traveling through nearby waters. During the 2023 Israel-Hamas war, the Houthis carried out more than 100 attacks on commercial ships using drones, anti-ship missiles, and fast attack boats. Those attacks forced several shipping companies to reroute vessels away from the Red Sea entirely. As a result, freight costs surged and shipping times increased dramatically. The president has made governments and maritime security analysts particularly wary of the group's latest warnings. Meanwhile, the United States has been trying to build international support for efforts to secure the Strait of Hormuz. President Donald Trump has urged multiple countries to participate in a naval operation aimed at keeping the crucial waterway open. Many countries will be sending warships in conjunction with the United States of America to keep the strait open and safe, Donald Trump said. However, assembling such a coalition has proven challenging. Several major countries have reportedly hesitated to commit naval forces despite their heavy reliance on oil shipments that pass through the region. The conflict escalated sharply on March 13 when the United States carried out a major strike on Karg Island, Iran's primary oil export terminal. The island is responsible for handling around 90% of Iran's oil exports, making it a vital economic hub for the country. President Trump described the strike in dramatic terms. One of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East, Donald Trump said. Despite the scale of the attack, analysts noted that U.S. forces appeared to avoid destroying key oil infrastructure on the island. The decision was likely deliberate. Completely shutting down Iran's oil exports could cause global energy markets to spiral into chaos, a scenario Washington appears eager to avoid. Iran, for its part, has emphasized that stability in the Strait of Hormuz is also important to its own security. The country has the longest coastline along the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman, making maritime stability a key national interest. At the same time, Iranian officials have warned that hostile forces will not be allowed to operate freely in the region. Iran's foreign minister made that position clear in recent remarks. The strait is open but closed to our enemies, Abbas Araqi said. Such statements illustrate how the conflict has transformed maritime navigation into a strategic tool. For the United States, reopening and securing the Strait of Hormuz presents a complex military challenge. One possible strategy involves escorting commercial tankers through the waterway with U.S. Navy warships. This approach has historical precedent. During the 1980s tanker war between Iran and Iraq, American forces escorted oil tankers through the same waters. However, the modern battlefield is far more complicated. Over the past several decades, Iran has developed an extensive strategy centered on asymmetric warfare. Instead of relying solely on large naval vessels, Iran has invested heavily in smaller, more agile weapon systems. These include swarms of small attack boats, explosive drone boats, anti-ship missiles, long-range drones, and naval mines. Even a single successful attack could severely damage a tanker or warship. That possibility makes escort operations risky and potentially expensive. One of the most serious threats comes from Iran's large stockpile of naval mines. Experts believe Iran possesses thousands of these devices, which can be deployed quickly by small boats. Some mines are relatively simple contact explosives, while others are sophisticated bottom-influence mines that detonate when ships pass overhead. Removing these mines would be a slow and dangerous process. Mine-clearing vessels must locate and neutralize each device individually, often operating under the constant threat of attack. Military analysts often describe the task as painstaking and time-consuming. Another challenge comes from Iran's expanding drone capabilities. One of the most widely discussed systems is the Shahed 100 3-6 loitering drone. These relatively inexpensive drones can travel long distances before striking their targets. The cost difference between attack and defense is significant. A Shahed drone may cost tens of thousands of dollars to produce, while the missile used to intercept it could cost millions. This imbalance allows Iran to pressure its opponents economically as well as militarily. Another strategy reportedly being considered involves seizing small islands near the Strait of Hormuz. The waterway contains numerous islands located close to both the Iranian and Omani coastlines. Establishing military positions on these islands could allow U.S. forces to monitor the area more closely and respond quickly to threats. Reports suggest that thousands of U.S. Marines and several naval vessels have already been moved toward the region. However, such an operation would be far from simple. Many of these islands are barren and inhospitable, meaning troops would need to bring all supplies with them, including food, water, fuel, and air defense equipment. More importantly, Iranian forces could attempt to attack any landing operation before positions are fully secured. Even limited clashes during such an operation could escalate the conflict further. Another far more aggressive option involves targeting Iran's oil export infrastructure directly. Karg Island, which handles most of Iran's oil exports, would likely be the primary target in such a strategy. Destroying or disabling the facility could deal a severe blow to Iran's economy. However, this approach carries enormous risks. Any major disruption to Iranian oil exports could push global energy prices sharply higher. Such a development would affect economies around the world, potentially triggering inflation and economic instability. This leaves Washington facing a difficult strategic dilemma. Escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz could expose them to attacks from drones, missiles, or naval mines. Seizing strategic islands might escalate the war and lead to casualties. Destroying Iran's oil infrastructure could trigger a global energy shock. Each path forward carries significant consequences. For now, the Strait of Hormuz remains one of the most dangerous maritime choke points in the world. At the same time, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait looms as a potential second front in the conflict. If Houthi forces move to close the Red Sea route, global trade could face one of its most severe disruptions in decades. Ships might be forced to reroute thousands of miles around Africa, energy prices could surge, and supply chains could slow dramatically. As the conflict continues, the battle for these narrow waterways may ultimately shape the outcome of the wider war. The world's economy, energy supply, and trade networks are now tied to the fate of these strategic maritime choke points, and the decisions made in the coming weeks could determine whether the crisis expands even further.